going to do on this video is complete our chassis section, and before we fit it to the car, and I'll show you where we've got to and how we got to that stage using pretty simple tools. Right, here we are, all complete. So we've gone from this hideous rusty wreck and falling to bits, as you remember from the previous videos, from making this section and this section. Well, on this video we're going to make this bit and tie it all together into one useful assembly that will go onto the car. So keep watching and you'll see how we do this using pretty simple tools. In fact, this bit I thought was going to be more complicated to make. Of all of it, it was actually turned out to be the easiest. So keep watching and see how we did it. Right, so my first idea is simply to draw around the chassis onto a bit of, I was hoping to get some card, but this is sort of a thick paper, so it's do the same job. Now to get the idea where the flange is going to go, so just simply trace around that. And the same that side. That'll give us a basic idea of where we're going. So we'll mark it where it should end, but also go over with it. I can possibly mark where the flanges should be as well, so mark there and there. Possibly we could use that as my guide for making this bit. I'll sort of figure this out as we go along. So that gives us basically the footprint of the whole thing. So you see it's not straight, it's sort of straight there, kind of, but it curves off over here. So it'll be difficult to fold this out in one piece. So we'll cut that out first, and then we'll make a template for the side. Righto, put that to one side. Now, this bit should also be fun. It's also not straight, so we've got straight for most of the way, but then dips downhill quite a lot over here somewhere. So if we can get that dip down first, scribe our way towards it. Right, just notch that out of there, so it's going to make it easier to get the pattern into place. See, I'm getting there a little, need to come up into there a little bit, which means all this needs to be trimmed. Right, now we're getting somewhere. Right, along there is straight, pretty much. Let's check to see that I've got straight here. I might be going off a little bit on tangent. Just a little bit of lighting up there. Not much, just a wee bit. Right, that's looking pretty good. What I'm hoping is it will mirror this side, so I not have to do this 5 times. my head should do. Yes, not a million miles off, so taking into account that things are moved around as they've been taken apart, that's not too bad. Right, so what we want now is what this side of it should look like. This might be a bit more challenging than I'm imagining it should be. Let's clamp it back in again. Hopefully it's as simple as drawing on it from this side. And working out the rest. Right, there somewhere. I think we'll do a bit of a dot to dot with this and kind of figure out where it's got to go. Okay. Let's rough in the straight lines and work it out from there. It's a different story from this side. Almost there. Right, okay, I think that's the shape we need. One way to find out is cut it out, and then we can try and offer it up against the car, see if it makes sense at the car. It's not a million miles off. Seems quite slender, but that seems to be where it lines up to. Right, okay, that's encouraging. That does basically follow through where that needs to go. Now you can see that is pulled fairly tightly into place and follows the profile of the spring hanger we've made nicely. Now that's back on the jig and where it needs to go. So I'm quite encouraged by that. Right, so what I think I'll do is I'll make the individual pieces up, sort of roughly shape them, clamp them together in the car, and then use the car as a sort of jig to tack them into place. My intention was to keep that as one piece, but I've had a brainwave. If I cut that as a piece, then cut the flanges off the correct width all the way around, that will give me, in theory, this top piece I need without having a fight. So that's going to simplify that. Bits of steel roughly cut out with the plasma cutter, just to square it off, and held down now with some little rare earth magnets. Are brilliant for this sort of thing. And that's what I'll do. I'll sharpie around this, cut this out. I probably will use a plasma cutter for cutting this out because it's quieter. It is, as you've seen before, we can use the jigsaw to cut it out as well. Won't bother showing me cutting it. I'll just get on and cut it. Nothing too exciting about that, but that's the idea now, is cut these templates out in steel, and then we'll start mocking them up against the car and see what we get. Right, that's the first piece cut out and roughly bent to follow the pattern, and we'll try it on the car now and you'll see it's there or thereabouts the right idea. Right, so there you go, that's the basic idea. It got it all lines up nicely, which is good news. And then we got the side profile of it, just a case of making the two side pieces and then the flanges over the top, tacking it in place, and away we go. Right, that's piece number one cut out to shape. So what I'll do, I'll format and try that in the car. And if that one lines up nicely, then happy days, we know we're on to a winner. If not, we'll adjust things to so that it suits. I've used the bit of a combination between the plasma cutter and the jigsaw. For the sweeping cuts, jigsaw is easier to control. For nice straight lines, just put a clamp a bit of angle like this down and use it to get a nice straight line with the plasma cutter. between the two, it's easy enough to cut it out. But if you haven't got a plasma cutter, jigsaw with a metal blade, perfect for it, especially this thinner stuff. Right, I think we're onto something. That's not looking too shabby. So if I make up another one of these now, go that side to follow that shape around there and come down and connect up into there. If I was to tack these on the inside, I think that will give us our basic shape that we can work with. Yes, that sounds like a plan. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. So here we got the just roughly put into place. There's got to be cut length and what have you yet, but there's enough there to start tacking this together to make the basic frame. Next thing I'm going to do is get a straight edge to go across here and check to see how it lines up with where I expect the floor to go. But eyeballing it, it looks pretty good. Usually if it looks right, it is right. Right, next challenge is deal with this here. So my new panel overlaps this quite nicely, so I'm going to take that down there, up there and along there, and then down here, so that'll be all quite nicely staggered onto that as well as there'll be the inner piece which will still be in there, which I can then weld to as well, so that should be nice and strong. Right, that's that all cut away. A little bit of rot cut out of that piece, but that's nice and strong, so just clean that up. So we can work with that now. There's a couple of layers there we can overlap and play about with, and I think that'll come across quite nicely, come together quite nicely. Right, time to start tacking this together. It's all looking a bit more like a chassis rail now. I'm quite pleased with how this is turning up, and the spring hanger is fitting nicely into it so far, so that's good news. And this side is all looking chassis like too, so I'll start tacking this up now. Right, there it is, all tacked up, ready for fully welding. Well, I probably should put the flanges on next to keep it sort of stiffer while I do the fully welding up bit. What I'll probably do is just, I've only cut the flanges on one side to be correct, the other side is all oversized, so I think I'll leave them oversized for now, and that just helped with the keeping everything in place. Right, suitably flanged up. I had to cut this one because it was too tight over anyway, so I just cut it to the proper full size. Just noticed I've got a bit of a gap there, but it's not too bad. I can fill that with weld. It's only about a millimetre. Looks bigger on the camera actually. But yeah, that's coming along right. I'll pull that off there now so you can see it on the bench. Right, that is starting to resemble a chassis section. So let's flip it around. Something about this side, we can soon trim that flange back when it's welded up. Quite pleased with how this is coming out so far. Fully weld these now, and I'll do those carefully. I'll spot this in place as well, because I know this is where it belongs. And happy days. Yeah, maybe I should take this off first, scribe around, take it off, fully weld the outside of this, and then stick it back on again. And just because I had to try to see if it fits, that's a nice snug fit onto there as well. There you go, just give you an idea what we're doing now, just fully welding up those areas, and then we'll take a grinder to them and finish them off. So a particularly pretty weld. I'm not worried too much about heat distortion. It's not going to be a real issue for a panel with this much shape in it, hopefully. We'll find out, but I don't think it'll be a problem. Right, starting to come along now, just touching up a couple of weld spots, but it's rounding over quite nicely. So happy days, keep on going. I'm using these 24 grit discs and just backing them with an old cutting disc when it's gone smaller. Seems to be working okay. They wear out fairly fast, but they cut quickly, so that's good. There we go. Starting to get the shape now. This really highlights what can be done with fairly simple tools. So it's just the insides. I've left the weld, nice big bead of weld on the inside, but I've left that. Not going to grind that back. Ground the tops off smooth and just knocked the tops off. There's bits on the weld on the side, because again I don't want to knock off too much of that, because that's going to give a bit of strength for that bit there. So the next challenge is to get this temporarily back in the car with the skid hanger on it, the skid plate and the spring hanger, and then get those welded into place. I think I'll get a shot of weld through primer over it first though. Oh, there it is with a bit of primer blasted onto it. The good old Halford's weld through. Now you'll notice I've not welded up the edges here. I've done this on purpose. Same over here on the edge there, so that when I come to putting it on the car, I've still got a little bit of fettling room just to get things to line up. Right, I hope that camera angle is going to be able to show what is going to occur next. The idea is to plonk this into that and that way around. That's going to hold underneath there. I hope this lines up. Cry if it doesn't. Profusely. Yeah, a little bit closer. Go. Yes, you still line up just about. Lovely. Make sure that's pushed firmly onto there and clamp it in place. Right, nice. Now I get my little level. You'll see with those lined up there, that still points towards where the floor is going to go. So that's all very encouraging. And I've laid this up against the new underfloor section, and it fits onto there quite snugly as well. So I think we're ready to fit it to the spring hanger and the skid. And see, that's fitted quite snugly and nicely onto there. So happy days. Pleased with that. Squeeze a little bit further into that one, but we can work with that. Right, so this is on the bench. Easier to see what we've got to do next. So simply plug weld in around there. Plug weld these, and on the back there and on the other side. And then, so that's nice and sturdy in place, bang this piece into there. Even though this is weld through primer, I still clean up in between. So what I've got is the, where's it gone? There somewhere. Ordinary drill bit, just flattened off, and that'll fit into there then. And try again. And that cleans it out to fresh metal. I still find even with the weld through primers, they still mess with my weld, so I still like to go back to clean metal. That still leaves enough protection behind as well, so it's not the perfect solution, but better than nothing at all. Right, that's all that ground back and cleaned up. So we'll worry about grinding those off. We'll get the next bit in place now and weld that on. Right, there it is. Still smoking from the welding. So all fitted up now. That wasn't the prettiest bit of welding I've ever done, but we'll soon clean that up. Just needs dressing up now and refit into the car. In my excitement, I nearly forgot to weld this bit across there. It's important that gets fully welded across there, so I should do that next. That's better. Now we're properly fully welded all the way around and ready for cleaning up. Right, there it is with a bit of paint on it. Doesn't a bit of paint make a difference? There we go. All complete. Ready to go. I think we'll call it a wrap for this video, and I'll include fitting this back into the chassis as part of doing the floor pan and the next section of videos. So I hope that was useful. I said this was made using simple tools, ignoring the plasma cutter, but I didn't need the plasma cutter. I could have used the jigsaw, the metal blade, and quite often did, as it happens, because the rounding off corners here like this is just easier with a jigsaw than it was with the plasma cutter. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Daves_garage_YouTube. I'll put a thing up for that again, and keep looking out for the next one.